What's your favorite activity? Maybe it's tanning on the beach, going skateboarding with a couple friends, or maybe it's just finding a quiet place in your house to read a book. Now, what about animals? Do you think they have the same thing? Do you think they like hanging out with their friends, or they like playing with their favorite toy? Well, they actually do. And zoos do a great job at providing them with this, keeping their animals happy and healthy in the zoo. But how do they do it? They do it through enrichment. And that's basically a big word that means the zoos do a lot to keep their animals happy and healthy in the zoo. And they do it through a couple ways. They do it through sensory or like helping their senses. They do it through physically. They do it through how their habitat is designed, social grouping, which animals they get to hang out with. But today we're just gonna look at a couple examples. So first we see the boomer ball. And that's this pink object in the middle of the screen. And we normally give them to our bigger cats like our tigers and lions. Here we see a tiger playing with it, and it can kind of chase it around, such like a dog would chase a tennis ball, or it can try and bite down on it like it looks like it's doing in this picture. And that actually does a couple of things for the tiger. It not only helps the tiger stay physical, stay fit, keep its jaw strength when it's running around, but it also simulates the wild. As we all know, the tiger's got to hunt to find their prey, and when they eventually do, they're going to have to eat it. And that's what it's simulating with the boomer ball. When it finally catches that prey, it's going to have to bite through a bone or maybe a log to get to it. Next, we see sensory enrichment, and that's basically smells. So what's your favorite smell? Maybe it's fresh baked cookies or that Lake Tahoe mountain air. And just like you guys, animals have their favorite smells as well. So we kind of see this one a lot with monkeys. What zookeepers will do is they'll put food in like a puzzle feeder, or basically a puzzle, and then put that in like a little bag, and then put a scent on top of it and go hide it in their enclosure. And then the monkeys, of course, will have to go find the scent to find the puzzle, try and figure out the puzzle to get the food, or their reward. Now, of course, this keeps their senses, or sense of smell, strong, like they would have to use in the wild. It keeps their mind sharp. As we all know, monkeys are probably one of the smartest animals. They have to solve that puzzle to get the food, just like they would in the wild. They're not going to get their food handed to them on a silver platter. Next, we look at diet. And this is really done behind the scenes that we don't always get to see. But nutritionists at zoos have to do a lot when looking at skulls of animals. So here we have a hyena skull. And if we look at its teeth, they're pretty much sharp all around, just like our front teeth that we have. And that tells us a lot of things about their diet. It tells us that they're mainly meat eaters, but a lot of us probably knew that because we just know a thing or two about hyenas. But we can't say that for every animal, and that's why it's really important that the zoos have these trained nutritionists to give all these animals their best diets like they would get in the wild to make sure that they're healthy. So now that we've seen that animals are kept healthy and happy in the zoo, how can we ensure that every animal gets the same standard of care? How can we make sure that they're all happy and that they're all healthy? That's where the AZA comes in. This, otherwise known as the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And basically what their organization does is goes around and accredits zoos based on a bunch of qualifications such as animal welfare, conservation, safety, education, physical facilities, and vet care, just to name a couple. And they're typically seen as the gold standard in America. Many federal organizations see them as the people to watch out for when looking for zoos that are being accredited. And that's great that there's actually a standard out there and an organization that does this to allow us, so that we make sure that we see all animals are being given that great standard of care. But unfortunately, only about 10% of zoos in America are actually accredited by them. And that's not so great. Now, it's actually really important that zoos do be accredited because, of course, we all want our animals to be happy and healthy. That's probably what everyone wants. But it's also really important for the zoos. Now, most zoos partake in an animal exchange program. And this means that basically if Florida were to call up the San Diego Zoo, a zoo in Florida, and they were to say, hey, can we borrow a koala? We need it for our breeding program, or whatever it may be, the San Diego Zoo can say, yeah, for sure, we'll lend you this koala to help you guys out and start up your zoo, make sure that it can become like our best one someday. And that's really important in helping these populations grow so that they can continue to educate more people. But I think as we all know, since the San Diego Zoo is one of the best in the world and has been accredited by the AZA, it's not just going to give its animals out to anyone. It's going to make sure that wherever its animal is going, it's getting the same level of care that it would get back at home. And by increasing the number of zoos that are accredited, increases that network that the exchange can go through and can build that zoo infrastructure and allow more animals to get out of captivity and to increase the education. Now you might be thinking, how can you help? Well, there's actually a bunch of ways. Now, of course, you could write to your government, your local congressman, but I think we all know that's probably not going to be your most efficient way. You can join and support groups such as the AZA and help their efforts to try and accredit all zoos and make sure that all animals within zoos are happy and healthy. You can, of course, support your accredited zoos, such as we see here with the San Diego Zoo, as we do see that every dollar that's put into it does eventually get back to the animal. And lastly, what you can really do is educate yourself and others on enrichment and how your local zoo might partake in it, so that one day we can end the mistreatment of all animals in zoos. Thank you.